ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Brisker.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Well, we love embracing the past while focusing on the present with our Chicago Bears. We do just that here in episode 80 of the Bears Etc. podcast in the final days of July. All I have to ask, where did the month go? It's an exciting week with the Hall of Fame game coming up in Canton on Thursday against the Houston Texans and the induction of the newest Bears Hall of Famers, Devin Hester and Steve McMichael, and also Julius Peppers. Welcome in, everyone. I'm the voice of the Bears, Jeff Joniak, with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, and our special guest this week, former Bears defensive tackle, a 2012 Pro Bowler with the Bears. This episode of the Bears Etc. podcast is brought to you by Miller Lite. Please welcome Henry Melton. I've seen Henry in March at the Bears St. Patty's Day event while he was shaking hands, taking pictures, and kissing babies. A Bears ambassador, to be sure, and saw him at practice last week. And Tommy, he says, "Get me on your show." It's funny with the former Bears. They always say, "Get me on your show." Well, we've got so many. I don't know what he means, but I said, "Hey, come on the podcast." So here he is, Henry. There you are. What's going on, my man?
Let's go. Finally.
Finally. Oh, my gosh.
It's something when these guys won't talk to us when they're active players. But, man, now that when they're one of us, we get back in the nice realm of, man-to-man conversation. And there's a lot of fun things to talk about. Henry, it's good to see you. And thanks for being a part of the podcast. And, I think everybody's always curious about what former Bears are doing, where they're at now, what their life is like. And so first question, what's going on and how's life?
Life is great, man. No complaints on my end. I'm happy, healthy. Got a 11-year-old daughter who's super active in sports, thank God. So this is amazing.
And she's in volleyball, correct?
Yeah, she's playing volleyball and basketball right now. Just made her club volleyball team, so she was ecstatic. So here we go.
Is she familiar with your journey about the way that becoming a professional football for Henry Melton is pretty incredible. And when you think about the positions that you played and ultimately the success you had at an NFL level, is she old enough to be familiar with that type of complicated journey to success?
She's a little familiar with it, but she's at the age where like anything I do or have done is not very cool. So it's like, if people are, they have some boys in her class or something like, "Oh my gosh, your dad played for the Bears," and she's like, "Relax, it's not that cool, like whatever, So that's where we're at right now. But I I bring her to a lot of the Bears events I go to, and some people will hype me up, and she'll shake her head and won't believe it, but.
Here's what you do, Henry. Turn on the video. Sit her down. Say, "This is how I became a Pro Bowler. This is what I used to be at the University of Texas. A running back that they turned into a defensive lineman." You did a lot of damage back in your day as a football player, both offensively and defensively. It's cool to me, Henry. You can tell her that.
I appreciate that. I mean, I think I have to make it like I have to make my highlight tape into a TikTok, and then maybe still pay attention or care or the slightest.
Henry, when you look at your journey of going from a running back to a Pro Bowl defensive lineman, where is the difficulty in that? Is it mentally or physically that what aspect do you have to convince yourself that you're capable of doing that?
I mean, they're both really physical positions. Just about how I played running back growing up, I did a very little pass blocking. So it was just like, 30 touches a game. So you're getting hit nonstop, and you have to have that, demeanor of, this person's not going to stop me by themselves, which is the same thing, switching over to the defensive side. You have to have that same demeanor of this person is not going to not going to be in my way. I mean, I was so damn big playing running back though. I had to lose weight to play defense. So that's how I came in, switching to defense my, junior, senior year of college. I had to have that mindset of, you gotta have that dog in you. You have to have like a little bit of crazy edge, especially playing the edge. You got to have a little bit of that craziness to you, which you have to have playing running back. You have to have a little bit of dog in you to get it done.
But to play the position that you played, was it food or weight room that got you up to go from a running back to a defensive lineman?
To get me down?
No, to get you up. Because what it was. So what was your top weight? 296.
Yeah, I mean, once I moved to interior, but I played defensive end like in college. So
right.
Like, I was probably like around 270 playing running back.
Wow.
So then I had to get down to
Jeez.
at Texas. So I mean, I came in with Jamal Charles, so we had a good time. We won national championship my freshman year, which was amazing. But things happen. He took the realm. Obviously, Jamal. He's one of one. So then I switched to defense. We had a bunch of seniors that went off to the league too. So they asked me if I wanted to switch to defense. I said I got that in me. Like they said that'd be my best route, playing NFL. So I took it, but I had to lose weight. I had to play defensive end. I was on the other side of Arakpo.
Right.
So yeah, so that's what got me a lot of looks, just because he was getting scouted heavily. He was first, a top 10 pick. So I got a lot of looks just from switching from running back to defense. And, yeah, that was pretty much my story of how I switched to defense, because we had some openings. I started at running back and started at defensive end. So
amazing.
That is amazing. That's quite the crazy transformation. Vizzy Hard Seltzer, flavors for every vibe. Celebrate responsibly. Molson Coors Beverage Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So just humor me a minute now. So you were a 270-pound running back. Did you? I mean,
might have been bigger at some point.
I mean, listen to me. Who's wanting to tackle that head of steam? I mean, did you get the sense that guys, you could see their expressions on their face of how are we getting this guy down?
Especially in college too. Like, yeah, it was. Yeah, I had a good time playing running back in college. I think I averaged around 5 yards a carry. So it was
worst hit
good time.
Worst hit you ever took as a running back, and the best hit you ever gave as a defensive player, college or pro? Because these things tend to stick with a man, right? You remember?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, playing running back, I never really got rocked like that. So, I mean, I was just too big, and I kept my head on the swivel. That's the only time you get rocked as a big man is when you don't see him. So, yeah, it worked on defense too. But playing running back, no, I can't remember. The best hit, I don't know if I would say my first sack on Brett Favre. That was probably it's stuck with me, my favorite moment. Just finally getting some burn, and then getting Hall of Famer on the ground was my first sack.
As a Viking. As a Viking.
Yeah, as a Viking. That was my first sack.
Yeah, first sack, and Corey Wooten had a sack that ended Favre's career, so that was it.
Well, that's why I always say, Corey got him, but I finished him. I landed on top of him. I made sure he was cooked. There we go. I did have a little nudge in there at the end to land on top.
So when you have the size at running back that you have, can you pattern yourself after anybody that's in the NFL? Did you try to emulate anybody's style, or were you so uniquely built that you are kind of like your own running back package?
You talking about playing running back?
Well, yeah. When you were a running back and you're that big, did you try to emulate anybody's style, or were you just trying to do your own thing?
Man, I was a big fan of Eddie George back in
Yep.
Eddie George was big. he could run you over and had a little bit of some shimmy to him. Was a huge fan of him. And then, I don't know, like I was always a big Barry Sanders guy too, so I did have a little bit. I thought he was the greatest player I've ever watched.
Right.
Like growing up, like he was amazing. But yeah, I'm just playing running back. But I played, man. Like my uncle played in the league, so I had like some defensive. My uncle played for 14 years.
Ray Crockett,
Won a
right?
championship. Yes, two championships with the Broncos. So I usually just cheered for whoever's on. Like he had Terrell Davis, really looked up to him. It's a great running back.
Yep. All right, Henry. So now I need you to put on your advice cap, and that's not to your daughter or not to anybody else other than Dominique Robinson, because the Bears have a really talented athlete, and he went by the route of quarterback to receiver, now to defensive end. What are some of the things that you could tell him and how to make that transformation? Is it specific technique? Is it mentality? What are the types of things that you could tell Dominique if you were having a one-on-one with him, how to try to make the transformation successfully?
Man, like, I mean, honestly, you just gotta play with your hair on fire. Like, you just gotta go all, like, especially playing that 3 or playing inside, like pass rush. That's how I got a lot of looks. Just like that's how you get on the field. Like they want guys, especially in this defense, you got to win your one-on-ones and get after the quarterback. They want guys like that they don't have to blitz all the time, that they can drop. And then the defense plays fast like that. You know what I'm saying? Like if they know like they're not going to be pumping, 1 or 2 times, that they can actually break when. That's how this defense works. Like this is just something that goes hand in hand with each other. But I would just tell them, just play as fast as you can, especially at that position. And then, like, a lot of it is your hand work. Like, because I wasn't the biggest guy, even though, I was pushing, like, later in my career, I was pushing, like, 295. I always played well at 285. And these guys are, pushing 300-400 pounds. So, like, and they got the crazy grip. Because most of the time, once they get their hands on you, you're cooked. You're done. So, like, a lot of the moves I had were, like, I wasn't a big bull guy because I'm not going to do that. But I was like, arm over swim, just kept their hands off of me. I had to re-engage, just keep swiping, turn your hips. And, yeah, use your athleticism as much as you can because, that's why they're offensive linemen. They're not as athletic as you. You know what I'm saying?
Watch it. You're talking to an offensive lineman. Better watch it now. Because Tom had a lot of nasty to him, Henry. Henry, he'd be cut blocking you all day long. It would have been ugly.
I got cut a lot, but you just gotta make a move. They hate it. They love when you run right into them. You just gotta make a move, get their hands off you.
That's the thing about Dominique Robinson is, I think being able to have that arsenal of moves when you're making it from offense to defense, and then how do you incorporate them? Do you have a second move already in your mind after the first move that you're going to dedicate your first explosiveness to? And then, so that would be interesting because there's not a lot of guys really, Henry, that have the success that you've had in making that transition and doing it the way, and he's playing on the outside. You probably had more of a physical existence on the inside than having those outside one-on-one battles. You're getting hit by a center guard almost every play.
Yeah, I mean, I played it outside too. Like even like I came in as a defensive end, and then for pass rush they kicked me down, just so I could use my athleticism down there, and I was bigger, where I could hold my own if they did try to run like a draw or something, that I could read off of that. But that's just, you just gotta. That's the whole point. Is just you gotta you gotta use your athleticism. Like you're not a guy who played offense and just like, ran downhill. Like you had a little bit of shake, you had a bit of burst, athleticism, move your hips, flip your hips, and yeah, you really just gotta. With these guys, you got to get them to move a lot.
Tastes like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Interestingly, I did have a conversation just today with Dominique Robinson. He went from 259 to 275 with just some serious weight room work and other techniques to get himself ready to roll. He knows this is a significant moment for him, and he's not giving up at all. And interestingly, you both were coached by the same guy in Eric Washington. You arrived at the Bears. Eric Washington, who now is the defensive coordinator, was just getting his NFL career started in that regard, and was a defensive assistant when you got here in 2010. And he helped you. So the same guy helping the same guy. Try to stick here in the National Football League and make an impact on this Bears defense. And, he mentioned, too, about the hip. Like, that hip torque is significant for that position, and he knows he has to work on that aspect of his game quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, just flipping your hips is so important because that's how you really get by them, or they have to hold you and tackle you, do all that extra stuff. But, yeah, I mean, I worked all off season. Like, I got redshirted pretty much my rookie year because I had a high ankle sprain like in preseason. So then I got IR'd for a whole year. So I had a chance to like study, like they made me go to every meeting, I worked out like 3 times a day. So I ended up same thing. I put up 15, 20 pounds of actual muscle because I came in 269. Then I wanted to be lighter. And then at training camp, I was about like 255. So then, like, working through things and, talking to Rod Marinelli, he was just like, yeah, put your weight back up. We're going to try to move you around and find you a spot, just on this defensive line. And that's why I tried to get in where I fit in. And that's what you got to do. That's how, my first play, my second year was a kick return during preseason. 20
yards.
I was a deep man back. That was my first career touch in the NFL. They put me back on kick returner.
Hey, Tommy,
deep man.
he would be a secret weapon in today's NFL for the 2024 season with the new kickoff rule. Put Henry back there.
I would love it. That would be fun.
You would play on every phase. You would be a frontline guy on kickoff. You would be a blocker or a returner on kickoff return. With your athleticism, you would have more special teams exposure than back in my era when it was a long distance play on kickoff and kickoff return.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Everyone's like, don't change it. But who just wants to see, what was it, touchback is like 90% of it. It's a waste of a play. Like, might as well get some excitement, get something out of it. And, for me, like, back when I was first trying to make the team, this would have been my forte for sure. Like, I would have been eating on this, getting off blocks, be able to use my speed and physicality. This would have been fun for me.
Henry, when you watch the game of football, all right, I'm an ex-offensive lineman. A lot of my initial, what I look at initially is the offensive line and, and maybe yours the defensive line, I'm not sure. But when you look at your position, are you surprised at the Hall of Fame success a guy like Aaron Donald had in the trenches? Because when you talk about the size of these guys nowadays, you and Aaron Donald are more similar really in the sizes that you guys played the position. Do you watch him? Do you watch that position? Or do you just kind of look at the big picture of football?
No, I definitely love to watch guys who are getting off and like getting pass rushes. I watched his game when I was playing. I took things from everybody. Geno Atkins was he was like more similar. I was a little bit taller, but he's still the same type of rusher that I was. But it was things like that where you just got to play. Even Tommy, like they would show Warren, like they would show guys who played the position when I was just figuring out what a 4-3 really was. So it was just, taking things from different people's games. But that's why, I was talking to Jeff, it was just like you're trying to like this position. It's just so physically demanding. Like it's just hard to get a long career out of it. Just because everything that goes into being like a beast.
Yeah.
Like you literally have to be going 100 miles an hour every snap. You can't take any snaps off. And then you're normally undersized. Like and you're banging like, and they try to run the ball at you to test your will just so you can get to third down and get that rush in. So like, I feel like the physicality of like the 3 and being undersized, I feel like it's hard. Cause once I turned around, I was pushing 30. Like my body I was a whole different type of player just because of, I don't know. I felt like I was worn down. Like even the practices, like you got to prove yourself, even like run drill, you're taking a beating like I was fighting to make it to Sunday. Our practices were so, physical back in the day.
Right.
So it was just, by Sunday, that's why I was eating. Because I was like, okay, this is pretty easy. But now I did 100 run drills and 100 pass rushes. Yeah, so, yeah, we were talking about, like, just, like, the longevity of playing, like, this type of 3 technique. Like, you talk about Aaron Donald, who's been, like, could say he was one of the best ever to play that type of position. I mean, you call it, 9-10 years? You just like go down the list of like, because people were telling me, like Calais Campbell and like, the 2-gap system is a lot. I feel like it's less demanding. I'm not saying it's not physical at all, but I'm saying like just bursting off the line and just making that physical contact every play is different from like, sitting and waiting, grabbing, using your hands more. So it's just, yeah, it's a real, you got to have that in you to really be a beast at playing that how they want you to play it.
When it's time to tackle some game day deals, then go with the grocer who's been a part of Chicago since 1899. Jewel Osco, the official grocery store of the Chicago Bears. So you've been analyzing the Bears. You've been popping on some podcasts out there, and at practice the other day, as I indicated, a Bear ambassador. What's your thought on Javon Dexter, senior at 3 technique at 6'6", and a beast as well? Looks like a mountain out there.
He does. He's a big man. I think I took my daughter to practice a few weeks ago, and I was like, they were kind of close on the D line was on that side, and she looks at me and looks at them. She's like, "You're tiny." I'm like, at this point, yeah. I mean, these guys are freaking huge, but. Yeah, I mean, if he can, that's what I'm saying. If he can find that burst and stop thinking, like, I feel like the sky could be the limit. Just being that big and being able to be that physical at that position. Because, I mean, you just got to have a guy that can win, not just run stuff, but you got to have a guy that can win in this defense for it to really click, especially when you got pass rushers on the edge. Like, if you're doing your thing on 3, then we all eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just works hand in hand. You can get a feel for each other, knowing that guy inside is going to get up, maybe push the pocket, or you can come underneath. Like, it was a thing of beauty when we were playing together, back in the day. It was fun. Just because we had that chemistry.
Well, the Bears bring in a guy like Montez Sweat. You think about the 3 technique complementing the defensive end, and the defensive end complementing the 3 technique defensive tackle, where you have to make sure that you respect the dominator the most. So you look at those 2 guys, because Montez Sweat is a big man, and you kind of don't understand how big he is until you stand up next to him and you see his structure. So you think of those 2 guys on one side, they should be able to do a lot of damage together if they can get into that good working relationship. Do you feel that way?
Exactly. It just goes hand in hand. Like, you just can't be – I mean, you can, but most of the time, even with Peppers, as all-time great as he was, like, we would communicate all through the down D-line. Like, I was with Izzy. He has, like – we did, like, some workout festival over the weekend, and he brought it up. He was like – there wasn't a snap where I wasn't looking at him trying to make sure I knew what his MO was. Like, because I feel like if I'm telling him I'm gonna shoot this, like, this guy can't stop me, I'm going up, I'm going up the field hard, then he would get a feel. He would know that and maybe come underneath. So we're both not flying past the QB and making it a worthless rush. So it's just you got to be able to communicate quickly and maybe just a look, maybe just a signal, just so the offensive linemen don't get to it. But yeah, it's D-line is all it works as one.
Henry, do you think the discipline of the defensive line is different when there's more RPOs added to these modern day offenses that you see, and they, specifically look at if this defensive end is collapsing a little bit too much or there's a little bit more spacing on the inside? Do you think the discipline of the position is a little different than it was either when you just came into the league or where it's going?
I feel like we played a few teams like that. There is a little bit of thinking, but it's just like, I don't know. That's what the whole point of practice and scouting and doing all that. And you just read. Most of the time, you just keep your eye on your tackle or your guard, and they'll tell you all you need to know. Like 100%. They'll tell you all you need to know. Whatever their pass set or something's up, you can feel it, and you just read and react. We've watched enough film, go through enough reads, you'll be able to, pick that up pretty quickly. He would always tell you to put blinders on because there's all this motion, all these guys running back and forth, doing all this stuff. If you have your eye on what you need to focus on, that's when you play the fastest.
I always heard that about defending the Rams, the greatest show on turf. It's just a shell game, right? They ran that shell game in a beautiful fashion. So let me ask you, this has got to sting a little bit when I bring it up because I think about it all the time. Do you ever dwell on 2010 and how close you guys were to becoming a Super Bowl team in 2010?
This is the reason why I can't stand the Packers. I loved Aaron Rodgers. He added up my sack totals a lot, but man, I think about that anytime we talk about football or, back in the day or as close as we could have been or were, we had the whole team, the nucleus, like the squad was made. And it was just like, it does cut deep. I can't believe you brought that up. You want me to cry on here?
Well, the reason I bring it up is because, the Bears have taken the hard approach, which Ryan Poles, and I say it repeatedly, probably people get sick of hearing it, the right way is the hard way to build a football team. And after 2006 Super Bowl team, the Bears regressed some, but they reloaded. And Jay Cutler came aboard as the quarterback, but, all the other pieces defensively were there, a lot of offensive weapons. And the Bears now are in a position where they got some dudes, like you guys had some dudes. And, you're sitting there in 2010, you're a second-year player with Julius Peppers over there and Urlacher and Briggs is still going and Tillman. And, you just meant there's a lot more talent on that team from 2006 all the way to 10 than people maybe recollect because you can mention a guy, that guy had a role. And I'm believing that the same thing's going to happen with this team moving forward. Roles are not all clearly defined yet, but they will as time goes because the better players then create roles for other players that may not be at that same elite level or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I think you guys had it right then and there with a very good coach that everybody loved.
Oh, man. Yeah. Lovey was just such a player's coach and just a genuine good human being. Like, you wanted it for him. Like, that's how hard you wanted to play, and you get emotional because it's like, dang, we were this close. Especially with, we have, how many Hall of Famers off that defense, and offense was, pretty elite. We had the team. When you look back and think about it, and as close, it's just hard. Like, you only get one shot, one every, any given Sundays.
I covered a Super Bowl that year. I covered a lot of them, but I pulled, Tom's heard me this too. I pulled Dom Capers aside of the Super Bowl, and I said, hey, explain that play by B.J. Raji to me. And he put his hand on my wrist, and he goes, you know what? We practiced that play in preseason in training camp, and I never called it once. And it was a zone drop, and B.J. Raji picks off Caleb, who was in as an injury replacement. And he said that's the only time the entire year he called that play. And I'm like, why? Why did you have to call that play right then and there? He goes, we had an inexperienced quarterback. And I took my shot, and that was the play. B.J. Raji, dropping in coverage.
Yeah, I mean, there was just a lot of, things, variables. I mean, a lot of variables. You wanted it for Lovey. He actually called me like a couple weeks ago.
Who did?
He was just like,
Lovey.
Lovey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He called me. It was just like out the blue. He was checking on me, and he was just like, wanted to thank you for, he was like, man, you really made that a career, pulling you from running back and deep. Like, I was like, oh, I mean, unexpected, but thank you, coach. And he's like, he's retired, chilling, all is well. It was good to hear from him. It always brings back memories of how close what could have been.
Well, that's also the gratification of being an ex-Bear as well. You think of how close some of the guys are that you're still friends with, the relationships you've developed with some of the people in the community, and then you have a ex-head coach like Lovey calling to check on you. It says a lot about the organization and the people you got to play with.
Yeah, I mean, you get the MO. If you talk to people that are more like college football fans, because they like, oh, the players care more, like they're not in it for the money, is like, when you get to this level, you can't get to this level without being an extreme competitor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody in there there were tears after that loss. I mean, like, people care. Like, you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. And like, especially when you have Hall of Famers like that, like, everybody, you don't get to that level unless if you are all the way in. Obviously, the money, like, it's part of the game, but you're in it. Like, you can't get to that level without being an extreme competitor.
We're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears, and tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Tom, I cut you off. You had a thought?
No, you brought it up, the college game. And so, Henry, you look at the year that we came out of college and they didn't have the NIL. What are your immediate thoughts on that? And, does it change your thinking about college football at all?
Well, obviously it does. I mean, now that's what I'm saying. You switch back to the NFL because these guys are making just about the same when they're signing their NIL deals. They don't even want to leave college. Life's great. So it's just, I mean, I love it for them. I was 15 years too soon. 20 years, I don't know how long that was.
Just think of what Tom would have earned as a starting guard for 9 years on a Super Bowl team. I mean, the guards and defensive tackles, you guys would be, I mean, it's an amazing amount of money right now.
Well, talking about if we were multiple year starters in college, we would have come out of college with a couple $1 million, and then all of a sudden you're not as desperate because when you come out of college with absolutely nothing. And now it's the challenge of seeing how long you can play in the NFL to try to build your nest egg a little bit. And that's what, Henry is saying, that you come out of college, you got a couple $1 million in the bank already. Takes a little pressure off you at times. You know what, Henry?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're preaching to the choir, because I was fighting for my life out here.
Right.
I mean, even my second year, like, they were still testing me. Like, I got drafted with Ron Gilbert, right?
Yeah.
He was
jumped out of the swimming pool, and everybody recognized that. Remember?
Which was my roommate. So we knew. I mean, there was, you get to camp, like, there's positions that are just locked. Guys who aren't gonna go nowhere. So, like, at one point we knew it was just me or him. Like, even during preseason, like, we would both be like, hey, let's make this a fun competition. Like, we were fighting for our lives out here. So it was just, it takes a little bit off. If you got a little bit of extra bread, coming into the into the game. I'm sure, especially if I was on a national championship team and scoring touchdowns.
Right.
Those.
Well, do you feel okay? So those who don't remember or those who don't recall the exact chronological order of it, you got franchise tag after your Pro Bowl year, and you got, I think it was almost $9 million back then. But the third game that year, you tear your ACL against the Steelers. And did you, then it was a couple other teams. Did you feel that injury wrecked your career?
I would say it made me realize things, because I feel like it was just such a shock to me, because I never got injured like that. Like, I never even had surgery before that.
Wow.
At that point, I didn't break a bone. Like, I had my high ankle sprain, but I had sprained my ankle a few other times, but I never had any type of surgery of that at all. So it made me realize like how important my health was. So it was just like, every day I was just going out there just enjoying the moment. So, but it made me rethink like a lot of things, I feel. But I would say, yeah. It just sucks. Like, coming off an ACL, you're just definitely, I don't know, they like replaced my knee with some other part that was not as athletic, I feel. So I just feel like I didn't have the same burst or same juice. It didn't matter how hard I trained. Like, my quad was never as big as my other. So it was just like, I don't know. It was, definitely derailed it for sure.
Yeah.
Just having an ACL like that at that position, you don't really hear about, because it just got so much weight, and it's just hard to like have the same type of explosion, even on a healthy leg, then reconstructed. So it's just, yeah, I would say it definitely put an asterisk on my career for sure. Just having like healthy legs.
Well, what the thing, one of the big, you talked about when you came out of college and they drafted a couple defensive tackles and you were looking at the other guy saying, okay, we're in this battle together. Let's have fun with the competition. I think when you're talking about a career, yeah, you had a setback after you had a really successful portion of your career, but your career started when you made the team. And that's when, that's the biggest obstacle. That's the biggest hurdle. That's the biggest proving ground of anybody's career, is making sure that when you do come aboard a new team, that you make the team and then you start the career that you had. So it's kind of different, thinking about getting injured during your career or being able to put together the fight to make the team initially.
Yeah. Just like, it's just that's what I said, like talking to Lovey, like, it's a blessing, or, just from hard work and grinding this thing out, even to be able to be in a position like that. So there's definitely no regrets or anything, but it's just like, just after getting injured, just saying, how I based my entire career off of was just being more athletic than you. It's like, you can't touch me because, obviously I played running back, like I'm just more athletic. You just can't block me. So it was just like, just coming from that and then just not having that, it just wasn't even as fun. Because I'm like, why are these guys blocking me? Like, I just, like, and it. You were like, damn, I really lost a step.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
All right, a couple more questions. We'll let you go. Appreciate all the time. So I just was doing a little YouTube internet search or whatever, and I found this. I had no recollection. Tom, he was, and you could appreciate this because there's stuff that we find about you when you had hair and you were a good-looking guy. Right. In 2013, he was considered one of the most eligible Chicagoans by Chicago Magazine. You actually shot a video and answered questions about being an eligible bachelor for Chicago. You remember that?
Of course I remember that.
How did that all come about?
I don't know. I think they just, like, the magazine or article, they just reached out.
Looking for guys with a good sense of humor and a good look to them. Handsome guy.
Ah.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still single, so it's just like.
Still eligible bachelor then. There you go.
Still eligible. Most eligible. Maybe. A little bit longer than now, but I'm still eligible. It's going. You get on little dating sites.
Oh, God. Yeah, you're a better man than us. That's for sure. And then on your University of Texas bio, after my football career is over, I hope to coach. Was there any of that? Do you ever entertain that? And what's the thought?
I coach my daughter's teams.
There you go. You fulfilled your destination.
I did. And it's like, it is, you do get a little bit of that adrenaline rush in there because you're seeing your product go and flourish. So it's now volleyball is different. I don't know a whole lot of coaching that, but when she hoops, yeah, I like coaching her. It's fun.
Henry, would you rather coach running backs or defensive line?
Defensive line, I would say.
Defensive lineman is technique specific. Running back is more,
Instincts.
these guys, research their abilities and kind of complement that. You could take a raw defensive lineman, you could take a raw athlete and turn them into, a John Randall, a Leroy Glover, or some of these guys that may have been underskilled coming out of college that turned into, having long careers, some of them Hall of Fame careers.
Yeah, I would definitely just feeling like I would coach them because there's just nothing like actually sacking a quarterback. Like just from being, that was like my side, just from being on the other side, like that's my, my leader, my guy, don't touch him. And then just being able to, put him in the dirt is just a whole different feeling. Cause it's just like, there's so many different variables that go into a pass rush. Like actually getting to him. You could have the world's best rush, and he's in a, 3-step quick, the ball's out. Like just getting there and being able to, if I was able to coach them and like watch them succeed in doing that and I had a part in helping them, it's just such a bigger feat, I feel. Rather than running back. Ball is like, you could literally walk into the end zone untouched. Like, it's a different, defensive line. Like you gotta eat. You gotta put your foot down and make it happen.
But on that Corey Wooten sack of Brett Favre, the distance that you covered after he was going to the ground, you might get a flag nowadays for that.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
That's I'm gonna bring that video back, but yeah, I definitely saw him going down. I was like, that was you could get a little bit of
right. Yeah, you get a piece of him for that.
Yeah, you could, back in the day, you could get a little, oops, my bad, one of those. But yeah, now I didn't even, when they started doing that where you couldn't even land on the quarterback, oh my gosh. Like that was like some of those flags where you just like gotta literally levitate to not land on them is, I don't know how they expect that to go down. Like this is the easiest way of not landing on a quarterback is don't let them get hit.
You mean like on the Michael Strahan sack that Tom Thayer went and tried to find Brett Favre when he came to Chicago? Yeah. Yeah. Remember that for the record?
Yeah.
Tom went and he was out of his mind is all I got to say before a Bear Packer. Was it a Bear Packer game or the Viking game? It had to be
it was a Bear Packer game.
Okay. So he went, I want to talk to Brett Favre.
Right.
He saw before a game and just that meeting never happened.
Well, it was the same thing when he threw the interception and Warren Sapp went and hit Chad Clifton and dislocated his pelvic bone. And then
God, you
when
had good
he laid
memory.
down for Strahan to give him the most amount of sacks in an NFL season, that was just such disrespect to the offensive line that he was playing with that I just couldn't get over it. Still can't.
I mean, maybe his number was called. That's how most sacks should go, to be honest. Like, if you don't want to be landed on, just fall.
There you go.
Agree.
It's a simple equation. If you don't want to be out for the season, you want to. It's literally like you get to live to play another down. Like if you want to run around and hold the ball and try to sling it at the end, like no, you deserve what's coming to you. Just fall down.
I never heard a guy say that. I never heard a guy, but that makes total sense. You're saving your team and your own health. Yeah.
Yes, you might lose a few yards, but listen.
Great call.
I'm fresh, popping back up. You know, I might be able to, whatever.
Well, you
Rather
had
than me being out for a season.
Well, you had 22 and a half of them in your career, so congratulations. You got 22 and a half of them. And yeah, to your point, the league the last 2 years, I believe, have used in the mid-60s the number of quarterbacks because of injuries and such. So your point is well taken. All right, Henry, we got to roll. See you around Halisol, and I know you'll be cheering on the Bears, and we hope it's a great season.
Appreciate you. Thank you for finally getting me on.
Oh, my gosh. I've seen you twice in the last 10 years, and he's telling me finally. Draw up a great game plan of savings with Jewel Osco for your digital coupons. Download the app for a fully loaded lineup of hot deals on produce, salty snacks, tasty beverages, and more. So thankful to get connected again with Henry Melton. For Henry and Tom, I'm Jeff. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up on Thursday's podcast, our one-on-one interview with Hall of Famer Devin Hester. On the morning of the night, the Bears meet the Texans, and the Hall of Fame ceremony will be very, very emotional, I'm sure, very impactful as we find out what's on his mind. And for Tom, with Steve McMichael going in, I'm sure we'll touch on this as well. This is a part of you going in there as well, and one of your best friends off the field as well as on the field.
Yeah, get an early reflection of the Bears as a team.
Yeah,
we get to enjoy the Hall of Famers going in after great careers, but we also get a chance to watch the first time the Bears ever take the field in 2024.
All right, bear down, everybody. Cheers. Thank you.